When men over 40 hit a physical wall, the standard medical response is almost always the same: check the testosterone. Relying on total hormone volume to explain male biological decline is a mathematical error. Common assumptions link the loss of power and physical stalling directly to a total collapse in systemic testosterone production. This chart shows the clinical baseline. Between the ages of 21 and 85, a man's systemic testosterone drops by an average of only 35%. A 35% reduction in raw material fails to account for a 100% physiological stall. Retaining 65% of optimal hormone production suggests the collapse of the physical architecture stems from a different source. The failure lies in the signaling architecture rather than the raw production volume. Recalibrating this signaling network is the requirement for aligning the body with its previous physiological output. The T to E ratio, the precise balance of testosterone to estradiol, serves as the true governor of male biological integrity. Absolute androgen numbers lose their significance when the comparative ratio is inverted. This diagram visualizes the target equilibrium. Clinical data indicates that a healthy male architecture requires a T to E ratio standardized between 10 and 30. Deviations from this strict window correlate directly with vascular inflammation and metabolic decline. Aging bodies naturally shift this internal balance, causing the physiology to respond to daily stress with weakness. The body's internal mechanisms drive this shift, independent of lifestyle factors or discipline. Simply adding more absolute testosterone fails because it provides more raw material for a corrupt ratio to mismanage. Identifying why this ratio inverts requires an examination of the microscopic mechanics driving the shift. PubMed ID 19896534 identifies the aromatase enzyme as the specific catalyst. Aromatase creates a silent leak by intercepting remaining testosterone and physically converting it into estrogen. This enzymatic activity keeps estradiol levels constant or increasing, while testosterone continues to drop. This constant estrogen production results in the accumulation of 16-alpha-hydroxyestrone, a metabolite often described as systemic sludge. In men over 40, the 16-alpha metabolite acts as a primary chemical driver of fatigue and physical softness. High levels of 16-alpha create a state of metabolic inertia, suppressing the body's natural drive. The aging male body effectively manufactures its own biological suppressor, using its remaining testosterone as the primary fuel source. Standard protocols often focus on the total elimination of estrogen, which is a misunderstanding of male hormonal needs. Proper hormonal architecture depends on the redirection of estrogen into specific metabolic pathways. Diindolyl methionine, or DIM, acts as the molecular switch required to execute this redirection. PubMed 11991791 establishes DIM's mechanism of action as a high-precision inducer. This diagram illustrates the metabolic fork in the road for estrogen processing. DIM physically blocks the 16-alpha pathway, preventing the accumulation of aggressive metabolites. It simultaneously promotes the protective 2-hydroxylation pathway, which supports systemic health. Shifting the metabolism toward 2-OHE neutralizes the metabolic suppressors and restores internal control. This creates a rapid, high-pressure clearance of the 16-alpha metabolite, effectively returning fluidity to the signaling network. DIM functions as a specific pathway inducer, altering the metabolic fate of circulating hormones. Implementing an estrogen clearance protocol in isolation introduces significant physiological complications. Clearing the estrogen metabolite is only the first phase of the reset. The endothelial bottleneck occurs when active hormones lack the vascular network required for systemic transport. Data from PubMed 227-66718 confirms that the same imbalances that create 16-alpha also drive vascular inflammation. By age 50, a man's natural nitric oxide levels, the signal for vascular flow, collapse by 85%. In this framework, Pillar 1 and Pillar 2 must be synchronized to ensure the hormones being cleared have the hydraulic pressure needed for systemic delivery. Pillar 1 secures the metabolic path, while Pillar 2 physically expands the vascular capacity to transport those signals. Sustaining this internal biology requires managing the external variables of the home, designated as Variable E or environment. The equation biology plus environment equals result explains why a partner's role in auditing the home for external chemical estrogens is necessary for maintaining the internal biological shift. Securing the internal mechanics alongside the external environment stabilizes the entire hormonal architecture. Regaining control over the male body requires the precise calibration of the chemical metabolism and the hydraulic pressure of the vascular system.